Warning, disturbing content, viewer discretion is advised. What was the scariest non-paranormal thing to ever happen to you? I've told this story before, I think, but this is the right place for it. When I was a kid, we'd go to these beach cabins in Maryland, right by the Chesapeake. They were small, rustic ordeals with basic comforts, nothing fancy like TVs or air conditioning. 2 bedrooms and a cot in the kitchen, and my siblings and I rotated on the cot so that no one got too sore from it. A small tradition was that my mom and I would have a hot cup of tea before bed, in our summer jammies, and just our way of relaxing while everyone else went off to read or listen to music. Well, one night I was settling onto the cot when she picked up the tea kettle to fill it. Out of the corner of my eye I see her flinch, then say in a steady voice, "What are you doing there?" My head whipped over to the kitchenette, to see her looking out the window. Then she jumped back and started screaming for my father. Somehow he knew shit was getting real, ran from the back bedroom and barely paused to see my mom point towards the left side of the house. He burst out the door and towards the left of the cabin. I'll be the first to admit I ran as a motherfucker and baseball slid under my parents' bed, because damn it I was 10 and that's what kids do when they're terrified. I still remember the smell of the old wood and the feel of my teddy bear shielding me from whatever the hell was happening. I remember seeing my 14-year-old brother, then a medium-ranking karate student, following my dad out of the cabin at full speed. The rest of the story is an amalgamation of what I heard and what my family filled in for me. My father, a former Army sergeant and MP with a Bronze Star, managed to tackle the guy that had been peeping into our kitchen window. He put him in an elbow lock face down on the ground, my brother standing sentinel over both of them while my mom ran to get the cell phone we'd bought just 2 weeks earlier. This was in '95 when those suckers had cords and everything. While my mom called 911, I remember hearing the guy talking. He was saying things like the Ouija board fucking told me. I want the devil to suck my fucking brains out, Satan is in cabin 10, I have to get to cabin 10, the devil wants me to kill myself. And so on. We were in cabin 3, over half a mile from where he apparently intended to meet the devil. My dad kept a grip on him for probably a good 15 minutes until the cops showed up. The first thing out of the one's mouth was, "Jamie, when they let you out?" He'd been released from jail just 2 weeks earlier, for arson. You know where he was standing, when my mom was at the sink in the kitchen. Right beside the propane tank. Came home around 11 p.m. after hanging out with my friends. I was halfway through changing into my PJs when I heard a light tapping noise on my window pane. My house is 1 story and my room has 1 big window facing into the street. I didn't really think much of it because my house is old and makes weird noises sometimes. All of a sudden I hear some man yelling incoherently outside my house and my dad chiming in a few minutes later. All I was thinking was, who the hell is trying to fight my dad at 11 p.m.? Turns out some man was actually peering into my window watching me change, and the man yelling was one of my neighbors driving by and trying to confront the peeping Tom. My dad came out to yell at this creepy asshole, but he ran off and got away. The cops eventually came and chilled outside my house for a while to reassure me. I bought some thick-ass curtains to cover my window, but I still feel like someone's watching me. This was 17 years ago, give or take, and my family and I went camping at a national forest not far from us. It was a campsite area with other people also camping, but far enough apart to have a bit of seclusion. We did this once a year or so and would stay for 4 days and 3 nights. One night, we decided to go to the top of the mountain and go to the lookout. This was against the park rules, no access to the top after nightfall, but we went anyway. I remember, clear as day, when we reached the top. The headlights of our van panned from left to right as we turned into the parking area at the lookout. We see a beat-up old pickup truck, rusted, and overall kind of creepy looking. The headlights keep going and we see a man pushing a lumpy, rolled up, carpet off the side of the mountain. He quickly turned to face us and I remember seeing his eyes reflect off the headlights. They were the scariest eyes I have ever seen. My dad whipped the van around and drove back down the mountain as fast as he could while still being safe. My parents stayed awake the whole night and they said they saw the truck drive past our campsite multiple times but never stopped. In the morning, we packed up everything and went home. That was the last time we went camping. I grew up in a little village in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by fields. I would often walk my huge wolfhound pretty late at night, that way I avoided the dog owners who were scared of my pup. So one evening I was walking up the hill to the church with my friend and my dog. All was well, we had a torch with us, it was a late summer evening, and chatting away as usual. Going around the corner towards the top of the hill, I shone the light ahead to see if there were any foxes or such. The light reflected off of a van, which was completely invisible before. It was half in the bushes and with no lights on. We paused for a second, turning the torch off. Then the van turned on, hearing a strange splutter and the headlights came on, pointing down the hill towards us. We panicked and started to run down the hill, unable to get to the fields on either side by the hedges. The van started to play music, typical church stuff, really loud, driving directly towards us, getting faster. We ducked into a hedge, lay on the floor, and waited. My dog was going crazy, growling and snarling. Wolfhounds are incredibly sweet and I've never seen him act that way before, or since. We waited an hour in the mud. I called my dad to come meet us, and he heard the van driving past us again and again, just going around in circles. I have never been so relieved to have my dog, and my dad walked me home.